And now joining me virtually to discuss the performance of the equity market so far, looking at all of the playouts for the first quarter of this year, I have Vincent Oshoma virtually, a stockbroker. Thank you very much for joining us on the Breakfast Show this morning, Vincent. Now, we've seen cautious trading really take center stage throughout this month. Now, it is also expected to continue for the rest of this week, especially as we're also looking at further releases of year-end corporate financial results and dividend declarations. Now, going by the highlights we've seen between Monday and now versus what has played out over the month, how do you juxtapose that to the entire quarter, really, and the intricacies that have played out?
Yes, we have seen investors being cautious in terms of trading, taking position in the market, and these can be attributed to what is currently happening in the macro economy, also with what is happening in the global economy, as well as the absence of any major catalyst in the market, because we know, though we are in the earnings season, but due to recent happenings in the market, some of the major companies have declared their results, announced their results, and we saw some reaction to those results. So they are most of the major companies have declared their results. I don't think the investors are looking forward to any other catalyst, which I think will be coming from the Q1 results.
Okay, now, Vincent, also talking about what's also playing out within the global markets as well, the impact of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. We've seen the global market also react to talks as well going on. How do you see that affecting Nigeria? And in case the talks continue to linger for far too long a time, do you think investors can still hold their focus or their sentiment really and ensure that they have the long-awaited results from all of this?
Yeah, as much as we have seen the impact of the Russia-Ukraine crisis on the global market, I think in our own case in Nigeria, we have other peculiar issues, because looking at the direct impact of the crisis in the market, the other factors to look at, like before, the rate hike by the major economy, the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank, I think is one major thing that is affecting the global stock market, but we're seeing some recovery from last week. But I think as the crisis, because there was the new discussion about new discussion in Turkey, I think it has affected the global oil price, which is the one that mainly affects Nigeria indirectly, because increase in price of oil is positive for Nigeria, but a reduction, I don't think it's not a positive movement for the Nigerian economy, as well as the concern about the food crisis that may spill over from this Russia-Ukraine war. I think those are some of the issues that directly affect our market. But I think one major thing that is affecting the Nigerian market this year is, one, the election season that is coming, upcoming election, as well as the FX challenges. I think these are the major issues, because the FX challenges, we are not really seeing foreign investors in the market. This showed in the recent released capital importation report for 2021. We saw a drastic reduction in terms of FPIs in Nigeria, and these are one of the major one of the major inflow of capital into the stock market to actually move prices. There are still opportunities in the market, but the absence of in the presence of these challenges, I think we expect the market to be affected.
Well, the performance of the equities market here in Nigeria was one of the highlights of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting we had for this month. But for the Q2 forecast, what do you think will play out going by the turbulent, volatile global disruptions we had this first quarter? How do you see things taking shape for the second quarter and the impact it will have on investor sentiment for Q2 2022?
Yeah, the fact that we are in a pre-election year, is expected that going in towards the, as we get closer to the election, due to the tension that is expected to be in the system, it's expected that it will affect our market. And so it depends on what plays out in the political scene, in the level of tension, the level of insecurity that like now we just saw in the news, the continued insecurity along the Kaduna, Abuja routes. I think these are some of the major concerns that affects our macroeconomy, which also affects the performance of the investor sentiment, because once there's insecurity, investor sentiment is expected to wane. So going into Q2, we expect investors to trade with a lot of caution, because as we get closer to the election season, it's expected to affect performance of companies. So we expect to see a lot of caution in terms of investor sentiment, especially for the stock market. And also with what is happening in the fixed income space, we have seen increased rates, and this is expected to also affect the market going forward.
And then lastly now, for investors who are looking to invest, yes, we know so many are sitting on the fence, but what havens still have the investors' appetite wet, really?
Yes, with, like I mentioned, increased rates in the fixed income space, I see some investors trying to move the switch funds to that space. But I think you will still see opportunities in the market, because one thing that is bound to happen is that as investors they take flight from the stock market, it creates opportunities, because we still have a lot of companies that have relative value. So for long-term investors, I think there's still opportunities in the market they can take advantage of as we see cautious trading in the market.
Thank you so much for your time on The Breakfast Show this morning, Vincent Oshoma. And we hope that the market will close the month of March on a positive note. Thank you once again.
Thanks for having me.